What is up, y'all? Welcome back to my podcast, the Atlanta Audible. As usual, I'm your host, Ice Ray. And today, we got a very exciting episode for you guys. Can you guess what I might be talking about? I'm going to be breaking down the top head coaching candidates for the Atlanta Falcons this offseason. Guys, we did it. We made it. We are free. Arthur Blank fired Raheem Morris. Just kind of shocking to me, and I'm guessing it's shocking to you guys too, because a lot of NFL insiders thought that Raheem Morris might have saved his job as the Falcons ended the season on a 4-game winning streak. But no, Arthur Blank had the balls to do it. He fired Raheem Morris. And Raheem Morris is not the only front office role that is going to be open. General Manager Terry Fontenot has also been fired. See ya, sayonara, he's gone. The Atlanta Falcons cleaned house. And now they have a very bright future ahead of them if they can nail the head coach and general manager hirings this offseason. Not to mention, Rich McKay, he's also out of here. And Matt Ryan, Mr. Atlanta himself, is in. As of January 10th, Matt Ryan has been named the Atlanta Falcons President of Football Operations. Matt Ryan, the only player in franchise history to win an MVP. The same Matt Ryan who was this close to hoisting a Lombardi trophy back in 2016 with one of the best throw-in catches of the Super Bowl ever. Unfortunately, the Falcons could not hold on and win that Super Bowl, but now Matt Ryan has a chance as the man in charge to help the Falcons nail their head coach and general manager openings and win a Lombardi as a front office manager. Now, Matt Ryan has ties to general manager Ian Cunningham, who currently works under Ryan Poles in the Chicago Bears. Cunningham also served as a scout for the Eagles from 2017 to 2021, helping the franchise win their first Super Bowl ring. Now, let's get into head coaching candidates. I would like to take this time to announce that I will be officially in the running for the Atlanta Falcons open head coach position. Yeah, guys, thank you. My first move as head coach of the Atlanta Falcons will be to retire the number 11 in honor of the GOAT, Julio Jones. Thank you. Now, I'm just kidding. Now let's get into legit head coaching candidates for the Atlanta Falcons. One guy who I really like, and I'm not exactly sure why this is a hot take, is Kevin Stefanski. Stefanski was just fired by the Cleveland Browns after 6 seasons with the team. Now, I know what some of you guys are saying. Why should we hire a head coach that was just fired? Well, with that logic, why did the New England Patriots hire Mike Vrabel, who was fired by the Tennessee Titans just 2 years ago? Now, the Patriots have won 14 games and are the 2nd seed in the AFC. Stefanski won 7 or more games in 4 of his 6 seasons with the Cleveland Browns. And I know what you guys are saying. Why do we only want 7 wins? We just fired Raheem Morris after he won 8 games 2 seasons in a row. Well, prior to Stefanski's arrival in Cleveland, the Browns only won 7 or more games in 3 of their 16 seasons before Stefanski took over in Cleveland. Not to mention, he led them to not 1, but 2 playoff berths. Before his arrival in Cleveland, they had 1 playoff berth in 18 seasons. Not to mention, he's won Coach of the Year, not just once, but twice, in 2020 and in 2023. And most impressively, he won a playoff game with the Cleveland Browns back in 2020, their first playoff win since 1994, almost 25 years in the making. That is very impressive. The Cleveland Browns scored the first touchdown in the game and did not look back.
And they start with a horrible snap all the way back to the 2-yard line, and the Browns bounce it into the end zone where they wind up with a touchdown. Mayfield, the throw caught over the middle by Landry. Jarvis Landry inside the 10, and Mayfield to the end zone, wide open. Hooper, touchdown.
What makes the win even more impressive is that they beat down the Pittsburgh Steelers. What's impressive about that? Well, Ben Roethlisberger was 26-2-1 against the Cleveland Browns in his entire career. And then, in a playoff setting, Kevin Stefanski and the Cleveland Browns dethroned him and won their first playoff game in nearly 30 years. Stefanski then went on to go toe-to-toe with the Kansas City Chiefs, the team who would end up representing the AFC in the Super Bowl that year. And he nearly beat them, if not for Andy Reid calling one of the most ballsy plays in playoff history.
Oh, there is a play. Penny rolling out, throws it.
I mean, running the ball with your backup quarterback on 4th and inches from the 50-yard line in the clutch of a playoff game is just insane. So Stefanski led the Browns to a playoff win and almost beat the dynasty Kansas City Chiefs, all in 2020. Then, in 2023, Stefanski led the Browns back to the playoffs and helped Joe Flacco win Comeback Player of the Year. Kind of crazy that he won the award over DeMar Hamlin, but still very impressive.
Just trust us. Your dad didn't say any of you were bad at all.
Halfback.
Wide open. 4 down the sideline. He's got it. It's a touchdown. 4. Flacco. Flush. Pump.
Got him.
Deep. Looking for Cooper on the sidelines. Amari.
Play action on first down. Flacco airs it out. Open downfield. Njoku has it.
Joe Flacco had just 5 touchdowns and 3 interceptions the season before in 2022. Stefanski is a great coach. It's not his fault that he's had so many quarterbacks during his tenure with the Cleveland Browns. And then the general manager traded for and gave the grapist, Deshaun Watson, a fully guaranteed $200 million contract. And then Deshaun Watson magically forgot how to play football. Just an overall terrible situation. And I understand if you guys want to put some of the blame on Stefanski for that one, but the general manager is the one who's ultimately in charge, and he's the one who pulled the trigger on such a deal. And then in 2024, he had Jameis Winston, who's electrifying, but also very turnover prone, as we all know, from his 30 touchdown, 30 interception season.
Can Cleveland answer? They try with Judy. They got him. He's going the other way. Touchdown as the Brown. Winston is picked. Intercepted. Bonito. Goodbye. No flags. Touchdown, Denver.
And then in 2025, he was gifted Dylan Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders. Gabriel was not a very good quarterback for the Browns and was ultimately benched. And Shedeur has potential, but he takes way too many sacks and his accuracy is very spotty at times. Regardless, Stefanski is a great coach, and his last 2 seasons in Cleveland were kind of not good on both sides. Both sides needed a fresh start, and that's why they mutually decided to part ways. I would love to see Stefanski in Atlanta. He won 11 games twice with the Browns, a feat that the Falcons have not achieved once since 2016, the year that they made it all the way to Super Bowl 51. Alright guys, so the next guy on my list is an offensive savant who's taken the NFL world by storm, Clint Kubiak. Kubiak is currently the offensive coordinator of the Seattle Seahawks, and in his scheme, wide receiver Jackson Smith-Njigba had 1,793 yards, the most in the NFL this season, and 10 receiving touchdowns. His 1,793 yards would be the 8th most in any season ever.
There's a block, and then going deep, and looking inside the caught! Smith-Njigba with the play.
Darnold with time going up top for Jackson Smith-Njigba. Drops it in the bucket, and he...
Not to mention, Seattle's offense has been terrific all around. They are currently 8th in total offense, averaging over 350 yards per game. They're 8th in passing yards per game, throwing for over 225 yards per game. And they're 3rd in total scoring offense, scoring 28.4 points per game. The Falcons are 14th, 19th, and 24th in those categories respectively. So Kubiak would be a major upgrade in that department. Not to mention, the Seahawks are one of the best offenses of all time, up there with the 2013 Denver Broncos, who had quarterback Peyton Manning slinging the rock in what is arguably the greatest quarterback season of all time. And I know some of you might not like what I'm about to say next, but Sam Darnold's not even that good of a quarterback. His 20 turnovers lead the league amongst all quarterbacks this season. And if the Falcons were to keep running back Tyler Algier, who's slated to be a free agent this offseason, Clint Kubiak has expertise and experience in managing not one, but 2 great running backs in Zach Charbonnet and Kenneth Walker. Both running backs had over 700 rushing yards this season, over 5 rushing touchdowns this season, and averaged over 4.0 yards per carry.
And the ball off here. Walker. Kenneth Walker inside the 40. Kenneth Walker is out in front. Kenneth Walker, touchdown. 3rd down and 2. Charbonnet. He's got it and plenty more. Touchdown.
Need to gain some ground. And sure enough, on 1st down, Kenneth Walker breaks inside the Pittsburgh 40.
If Atlanta were to do it, Kubiak is an offensive savant who schemed JSN to one of the greatest wide receiver seasons of all time. and nearly 1,800 yards, who schemed both his running backs to combine for over 1,700 total yards from scrimmage and 19 touchdowns. He's a machine at getting his tight ends into the end zone, with both Arroyo and Barner combining for 7 touchdowns, and he schemed the Seattle Seahawks into nearly averaging 30 points per game, and they are currently the first seed in the NFC. He would be a great fit for the Atlanta Falcons, as he would look to turn around an offense that has a ton of talent but has struggled in the play calling department as of late.
To Bijan Robinson.
They go with the tight end Johnny Smith out of the backfield in his pass.
Now the next guy on my list is easily the best floor raiser left on the market. Ex-Baltimore Ravens head coach John Harbaugh. Now the reason he's not a top 2 candidate in my eyes personally is because I'm a bit weary of those culture setter guys that don't really call plays. We just saw it backfire with the Las Vegas Raiders and Pete Carroll this season, who now have the first overall pick, and Carroll is out of the building. You see a lot of turnover with those guys. You see Dan Campbell in Detroit. The Lions just lost their OC and their DC, and now this season they missed the playoffs. You see a lot of turnover in Philadelphia with Nick Sirianni. The Eagles lost Kellen Moore, who was their offensive coordinator last season, and they went from a historically great offense to an offense that is borderline unwatchable this season. Now, I'm not saying that John Harbaugh is a bad coach. He's a damn great coach. Did you guys know the last time the Ravens had less than 8 wins in a season was 2015, over a decade ago? The last time the Falcons had more than 8 wins in a season? 2017, when they won 10 games and won a playoff game against the Los Angeles Rams. Harbaugh has led the Ravens to the playoffs in 7 of their last 12 seasons, including 6 of the last 8. He's posted winning records in 13 of his 18 seasons. For context, the Atlanta Falcons only have 17 winning seasons in their entire franchise's history, a history that spans over 60 years. Not to mention, Harbaugh has a Super Bowl ring under his belt, winning it in 2012 with the Baltimore Ravens.
Jim Harbaugh, that is. And this could be a run back from 9 deep for Jacoby Jones. And look at him go. Jones is past the 50, and he is flying inside the 20, and a kickoff return, 100.
The unfortunate truth of the matter is that Harbaugh, as of late, has gained a bit of a reputation as a choker. Since 2021, the Ravens have lost 12 games where they had a 7-point lead or more in the 4th quarter. That is not only the most in the last 5 years of the NFL, that is the most in any 5-year span in NFL history. The second place team blowing 8 such leads. I remember when they used to make graphics like this for the Atlanta Falcons. Not to mention, he has a generational talent in Lamar Jackson, a 2-time MVP, 1-time unanimous back in 2019, and they've only won 3 playoff games together, including losing in the first playoff game in 2019 after winning 14 games and having the most All-Pros in the entire NFL. Harbaugh is a great coach, but it's turning into a young man's league. Did you guys know that Matt LaFleur was the oldest coach in the NFC playoffs, and he is only 46 years old? Harbaugh is 63, almost 20 years older than LaFleur. It's a young man's league, and if the Falcons were to go that route, I would want them to get a younger coach. But I'm not saying that Harbaugh is a bad coach. He is still a great coach, and as I already said before, he's a great floor raiser. Next guy on my list is the first pure defensive-minded guy I would love for the Falcons to target. He is Jesse Minter, the Los Angeles Chargers defensive coordinator. The Chargers finished 5th in the NFL in total defense, surrendering less than 286 yards per game. They finished 5th in passing yards per game, allowing opposing quarterbacks to throw for less than 180 yards per game. They finished 8th in rushing yards surrendered per game, giving up less than 160 yards on the ground per game. And they finished 9th in total scoring defense, allowing 20.0 points per game. Falcons allowed opposing offenses to score 20 or more points in 12 of their 17 games last season, including 4 games where the opposing offense scored 30 or more points. The Chargers allowed 30 or more points just once last season. The Chargers defense also finished the season tied 10th in total sacks with 42. They were 3rd in interceptions with 19 and tied 7th in total turnovers with 23. The defense was elite at getting the ball back to their offense.
Hurts. Picked off.
Intercepted, and now the ball's out, and Hurts ends up with the ball in his hands. He fumbles.
Minter is an elite defensive-minded guy, and he could really change the trajectory of this Falcons defense, especially with all of the talent, young talent, on the team. However, I personally want an offensive-minded guy to fill the vacancy. But if the Falcons were to go in Minter's direction, I would not be opposed. He's a great guy to maximize the talent that we already have on defense. The next guy on my list is another defensive-minded guy in Minnesota Vikings defensive coordinator Brian Flores. Now, I know what some of you guys are thinking. Why is Minter above Flores, who might very well be the best defensive coordinator in the NFL right now? And you guys are right. The only reason I have Minter above Flores is because of the last controversy surrounding his head coaching job with the Miami Dolphins. Now, I don't blame Flores solely for that situation. It's just a weird situation, and Minter hasn't been involved in anything like that, and that's why I have him above. But Flores is a damn good defensive coordinator. He helped the Vikings win 9 games this year, and that was no part thanks to their offense. The Vikings finished 3rd in total defense, surrendering less than 283 total yards per game. They finished 2nd in passing yards per game, allowing only less than 160 yards through the air on average. And they finished 7th in total defense, allowing 19.6 points per game. They finished 4th in the NFL in sacks with 49. And can you guys guess which team led the NFL in forced fumbles with 13? You got it right. It was the Brian Flores-led Minnesota Vikings defense. They held opposing quarterbacks to under 200 passing yards in 12 of their 17 games. They held quarterbacks to under 140 passing yards in 6 of their games, and they held quarterbacks in this pass-heavy offense of 2025 to under 100 passing yards in 3 of their 17 games. And it's not like they were doing this to bums. They held the 2024 Offensive Rookie of the Year, Jaden Daniels, to just 92 passing yards. He did leave the game injured in the 3rd quarter, but before that, he was just 9 of 20, completing just 45% of his passes. That is a damn good defense, led by Brian Flores. The Vikings went 5-1 to finish their season, and in those 6 games, they forced 12 total turnovers, including a 6-turnover game against the Detroit Lions, who were fighting for their playoff lives.
Here comes the pressure. Van Ginkel got in there. Goff got rid of it, and it's picked. Byron Murphy from the 30, vacant to him. Goff delivers another pick, and it's the veteran.
Everyone knows that a Brian Flores-led defense is a force to be reckoned with. If he were to come into Atlanta, he would maximize the talent, especially of the young guys here, and it would be awesome to see how amazing that defense would be. He's great at forcing turnovers and getting sacks. If the Falcons were to go the Flores route, I would not be unhappy with that. So, to recap, my top 5 candidates for the open head coaching position of the Atlanta Falcons would be Kevin Stefanski, the ex-Cleveland Brown; Clint Kubiak, who is currently the Seattle Seahawks offensive coordinator; John Harbaugh, the ex-Baltimore Raven; Jesse Minter, the defensive coordinator of the Los Angeles Chargers; or Brian Flores, the defensive coordinator of the Minnesota Vikings. Now, a guy whose name I've heard thrown around a lot, but I know the Falcons, as of yet, have not conducted any interviews with, is Mike McDaniel, who was just fired by the Miami Dolphins. Now, if the Falcons were to go the defensive minded head coach route in Flores or Minter, if they were to bring in McDaniel as the offensive coordinator, that would be awesome, and I think that would be a great fit. I personally, and this is very subjective, but I personally don't think McDaniel is a great leader of men, so I would not want him to be the Falcons' next head coach. But if he were to be the offensive coordinator under a Flores or a Minter, I think the scheme would work perfectly here. He worked with the left-handed quarterback in Tua Tagovailoa in Miami. He would be working with, at least for the 2026 season, a left-handed quarterback in Michael Penix Jr. once he returns from injury. He dialed up a ton of deep shots for Tua Tagovailoa in Miami. He could dial up a bunch of deep shots for Michael Penix Jr. in Atlanta, who also has a cannon of an arm. So, if the Falcons were to go the defensive-minded head coach route, Mike McDaniel would be an awesome fit as the offensive coordinator calling plays in Atlanta. Thank you for watching. I hope you guys agree with my takes. Hope you guys agree with my predictions. Hope you guys agree with who I want. And as usual, leave a like, leave a sub, and have a great day. Ice Ray out.